Hello, passionate Celtic FC fans. This is Celtic Central News, your exclusive source for Celtic updates. Before we kick off, we appreciate the incredible support. If you love Celtic, subscribe now, hit like, and let's build this community together. Now, onto the latest news. A warm welcome to new subscribers. Your support is crucial. Hail, hail. The whispers around Celtic FC have grown louder in recent days. And inside the corridors of Scottish football, there is a sense that something significant is quietly taking shape. The idea being passed around is not just another routine signing or a depth option meant to please supporters on social media, but rather a statement move designed to redefine how the midfield breathes, moves, and controls the rhythm of matches. Those close to the club hint that the recruitment department has been working with unusual confidence, convinced that the next addition is someone who understands space, tempo, and responsibility at the highest levels of the game. The name circulating in private conversations is spoken with a mix of excitement and disbelief, because it suggests ambition that goes beyond domestic dominance. There is a feeling that this is about authority, about setting the tone from the first whistle without needing chaos or raw aggression. Supporters have noticed the subtle clues, the careful language used in interviews, the calm expressions from figures who normally deflect speculation. It feels rehearsed, almost deliberate, as if everyone is waiting for the right moment to let the story unfold naturally. The suggestion is that Celtic want control, not just possession, and that they see midfield intelligence as the final piece of a carefully constructed puzzle. Within these rumors, the profile being described fits a player who has lived inside structured systems, who understands how to arrive late into dangerous areas and how to make others better without demanding constant attention. This is where the speculation becomes bolder, because the whispers point toward Donny van de Beek as the figure Celtic believe can transform their midfield from efficient to authoritative. Those familiar with his journey suggest that the Scottish champions view this as a chance to unlock a version of the player that thrives on trust and defined roles. The talk is not about glamour or shirt sales, but about balance, movement, and intelligence between the lines. In quiet discussions, it is said that coaches admire his ability to read the game 2 steps ahead, to know when to accelerate play and when to slow it to a whisper. There is even a sense that Celtic believe the Scottish game, with its intensity and demand for bravery on the ball, could suit him more than people expect. This rumor frames the move as mutual redemption, a club seeking continental credibility and a player seeking a stage where his understanding of football can once again be central rather than peripheral. The most intriguing element of this speculation is how calmly it has been handled, almost as if Celtic want the football world to underestimate what is brewing. Sources close to the situation claim that discussions have focused on football identity rather than short-term success, which is unusual in an era obsessed with instant impact. The idea is that Van de Beek would not simply slot into the side, but would become the reference point around which others orient their movement. Midfield partners would know where he is without looking, forwards would trust that the ball will arrive at the right moment, and defenders would feel protected by positioning rather than brute force. This rumor paints a picture of a dressing room intrigued by the possibility, with senior players said to be curious rather than threatened. There is a suggestion that Celtic see this as a cultural fit, someone whose professionalism and tactical discipline could quietly raise standards without speeches or theatrics. It feels like a move designed for longevity, even if framed publicly as opportunistic. The silence from official channels only fuels the belief that something serious is being prepared behind closed doors. Another layer to the rumor centers on how this potential arrival would symbolize a shift in how Celtic are perceived beyond Scotland. Insiders suggest that the club wants to be seen not just as a stepping stone or a nostalgic giant, but as a place where high-level footballers can rediscover clarity and purpose. Van de Beek's name carries weight because of his education within elite systems, and Celtic are believed to view that experience as invaluable. The narrative being shaped is one of mutual respect, where the club offers responsibility and trust, and the player offers intelligence and calm authority. This is not presented as a gamble, but as a calculated alignment of needs. The rumor even hints that Celtic believe their style, built on brave passing and positional rotation, could finally allow him to express qualities that have been muted elsewhere. Supporters picking up on these whispers sense that this is about control of matches rather than moments of chaos. It feels like a quiet declaration that Celtic want to dictate how games are played, not merely react. As the speculation continues, there is talk about how this move would influence the wider squad dynamic. Younger midfielders are said to be excited by the prospect of learning from someone whose game is built on awareness rather than physical dominance. The rumors suggest training sessions would gain a different tempo, with emphasis on angles, timing, and decision-making under pressure. Coaches reportedly see Van de Beek as an extension of their ideas on the pitch, someone who can interpret instructions instinctively rather than mechanically. This aligns with the belief that Celtic want their football to feel inevitable rather than frantic. The idea is that control breeds confidence, and confidence breeds dominance. Even those usually skeptical of high-profile arrivals are intrigued by the logic behind this one. It is framed not as star-chasing, but as system-building. That distinction matters in how this story is being told quietly among those who believe something significant is coming. By the time these whispers reach supporters, they have already taken on a life of their own. Online discussions buzz with cautious optimism, tempered by the understanding that this remains unofficial and unconfirmed. Yet the consistency of the narrative suggests more than idle gossip. It feels like a story being allowed to breathe rather than forced into the spotlight. Celtic, according to this rumor, are not rushing because they believe the fit is right and the timing will take care of itself. Van de Beek's potential arrival is framed as the final brushstroke on a carefully painted canvas. Whether or not it becomes reality, the speculation alone reveals a club thinking deliberately about identity, control, and authority. That in itself sends a message, one that resonates far beyond the usual noise of transfer talk. The second part of this unfolding rumor shifts focus toward how such a move could redefine expectations around Celtic's midfield leadership. The suggestion is that Van de Beek would arrive not as a superstar demanding adaptation from everyone else, but as a conductor who quietly aligns individual strengths into a coherent whole. Those close to the coaching staff reportedly admire how he communicates on the pitch through movement rather than gestures. This fits with the idea that Celtic want their dominance to feel calm, almost inevitable, rather than explosive. The rumor frames this as a cultural evolution rather than a tactical tweak. It suggests that matches would be controlled through understanding, with midfield triangles constantly adjusting to deny opponents space and time. Supporters who enjoy football's subtleties see this as a mouth-watering prospect, imagining a side that suffocates through positioning rather than chasing. It is whispered that this is exactly the profile Celtic have been missing, someone who connects phases of play seamlessly. There is also speculation about how this potential signing would be interpreted across Scottish football. Rivals are said to be paying close attention, aware that such a move could raise the bar in terms of midfield intelligence within the league. The rumor implies that Celtic see this as a chance to normalize a higher technical standard domestically, forcing others to adapt or fall behind. Van de Beek's presence would challenge opponents to press smarter, defend deeper, and think quicker. This is not framed as arrogance, but as confidence in a long-term vision. The whispers suggest that Celtic's leadership believes sustained dominance comes from controlling the middle of the pitch intellectually as well as physically. That belief underpins every aspect of this rumor, giving it a sense of coherence that random speculation often lacks. Another strand of the story revolves around the personal motivation attributed to Van de Beek within these rumors. It is said that he is searching for a place where trust outweighs noise, where his understanding of the game is valued without constant scrutiny. Celtic are portrayed as offering exactly that environment, a passionate support base combined with a clear footballing identity. The speculation hints that conversations have been frank and football-focused, without grand promises or hollow marketing. This aligns with the image of a player eager to re-anchor his career around purpose rather than prestige. The idea is that Celtic could become a platform for expression rather than reinvention. Supporters reading between the lines sense that this is about comfort in responsibility, not escape from pressure. The rumor also touches on how such a signing would influence Celtic's approach to high-intensity matches. Van de Beek is described as someone who understands when to slow the game to frustrate opponents and when to accelerate it to exploit imbalance. This tactical maturity is said to be highly valued by the coaching staff, who want their side to dictate emotional as well as technical rhythm. The whispers suggest that Celtic see this as a way to impose authority without needing to dominate physically in every duel. Instead, dominance would come from making opponents chase shadows, always a step behind the ball. That vision resonates strongly with supporters who appreciate football as chess rather than chaos. As the narrative deepens, there is talk of leadership emerging naturally rather than being assigned. Van de Beek is portrayed as a quiet organizer, someone who leads through reliability and clarity. This fits with the idea that Celtic want a dressing room built on mutual respect rather than hierarchy. The rumor implies that his presence would empower others, freeing creative players to take risks knowing there is structure behind them. It paints a picture of collective confidence, where everyone understands their role within a fluid system. Such an environment, if realized, would mark a subtle but significant evolution in how Celtic project themselves on the pitch. By the time this speculation reaches its current intensity, it feels less like a fleeting rumor and more like a carefully shaped possibility. There is no rush, no forced excitement, just a steady hum of anticipation. Whether the move materializes or not, the story itself reveals a club thinking deeply about identity and control. The idea of Van de Beek in green and white has become a symbol of that thinking, representing ambition grounded in intelligence rather than impulse. For supporters listening closely, this rumor is not just about a player, but about the direction Celtic believe they are heading. As the murmur refuses to fade, the idea taking hold is that Celtic FC are deliberately allowing this story to grow legs on its own, trusting that the tone of quiet confidence sends a stronger signal than any official announcement ever could. The rumor suggests a club comfortable in its skin, aware that true authority does not need shouting. Those close to the dressing room hint that senior figures sense an evolution coming, one rooted in composure rather than confrontation. There is talk that training ground discussions have subtly shifted, with more emphasis on spatial awareness and collective movement, as if preparing the soil before planting the seed. Supporters who pride themselves on reading between the lines feel this is not coincidence. They believe Celtic are shaping an environment that would naturally suit a cerebral midfielder, someone who thrives when patterns matter more than chaos. The speculation paints a picture of patience, of a club willing to wait until everything aligns rather than rushing to satisfy headlines. In this telling, the rumor itself becomes part of the strategy, easing expectations while sharpening curiosity. It feels like a slow burn designed to recalibrate how dominance looks and feels in green and white. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Another compelling angle within this speculation is how seamlessly the identity of Donny van de Beek seems to slot into Celtic's self-image. The whispers describe a footballer whose game is built on anticipation, subtlety, and trust in collective movement, qualities that resonate deeply with how the club want to be seen. There is an almost romantic notion circulating that his presence would restore a sense of midfield artistry without sacrificing intensity. Insiders suggest that the coaching staff are fascinated by his ability to interpret spaces that others do not even recognize. This is framed not as flair, but as football intelligence at its purest. The rumor implies that Celtic see him as someone who could elevate matches into controlled narratives, where momentum is guided rather than chased. For supporters, this idea taps into a deeper desire for football that feels intelligent and inevitable. It is less about moments of individual brilliance and more about collective mastery. That philosophy, according to the speculation, sits at the heart of why this story refuses to disappear. The rumor also explores how this potential move could influence the emotional relationship between the team and its supporters. There is a sense that Celtic fans, deeply knowledgeable and demanding, appreciate players who understand the rhythm of expectation. Van de Beek is portrayed as someone whose calm demeanor could steady nerves during tense phases, transmitting confidence through simple decisions. The speculation suggests that such composure can be contagious, spreading through the stands as much as across the pitch. This would represent a subtle shift, where belief is built not on raw intensity, but on control and clarity. Those discussing the rumor argue that Celtic at their best have always balanced passion with intelligence, and this move feels like an attempt to restore that equilibrium. The story becomes less about a transfer and more about reconnecting with a footballing soul that values thought as much as fire. As these additional layers are added, the overall narrative grows richer and more convincing, even without confirmation. The rumor has evolved into a reflection of aspiration, a mirror held up to what Celtic want to become. Whether or not Van de Beek ultimately pulls on the shirt, the speculation itself reveals a club intent on shaping perception through substance rather than spectacle. It suggests ambition rooted in self-awareness, an understanding that long-term dominance is built quietly, piece by piece. For those listening closely, this is why the story resonates. It is not fueled by noise, but by coherence. In that sense, the rumor has already achieved something meaningful, inviting supporters to imagine a future defined by control, intelligence, and understated authority. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.